You know you love that intro. Welcome, race fans, to the fantasy preview show for the Brazilian Grand Prix. Excited to be with you again this weekend. Got some highlights and recaps from Mexico, and apparently we got a redeeming list of tier names this week from Ryan after a recent absence, or I don't know what it was, but anyway, so I'm excited to see what he has for us today. We have hopefully an exciting weekend ahead of us. There's potentially going to be weather in Brazil, as there usually is always that opportunity. So I think we all appreciate when a race has a little bit of a mix up in it. So I'm excited for this weekend. But let's get into it. Recap of last race's salary changes after Mexico. Great race, by the way. Very interesting grouping of salary changes. We had basically 6 drivers stay flat, which is very rare. You usually see like 9 go up, 11 go down, 10 go up, 10 go down. You had Oscar Piastri, Alex Albon, Lance Stroll all stay at 0, and then Hamilton, Hadjar, and Colapinto were down 100K, which, you know, in this game is essentially 0. So you kind of had an even, like a third of drivers go up, a third stay flat, a third go down. Not very common. On the winning side, you had Kimi Antonelli, Ollie Behrman, and Esteban Ocon go up 2 million, almost the max. Bortoletto almost max 1.7. Charles Leclerc 1.4. Norris and Gasly up 400K. On the losing side, Tsunoda down 900, Carlos Sainz down 900, George Russell down 1 million, and then Alonso, rough weekend for Aston Martin, Liam Lawson and Hulkenberg all down 2 million. Lance Stroll, someone said in the comments they're ready for the stroller coaster. The stroller coaster stayed flat over the weekend, which, hey, going up or staying flat for Lance Stroll is always a win in my book. I'll take either of those if he's on my roster. On the constructor side, real quick, and then we're going to get into tiers for this week. We have Haas, the winning salary increase change of the weekend, up 1.4 million. Salaries stayed pretty flat this weekend. I'm not sure why that is, but typically you see at least 1 or 2 teams over 2 million and change. So you had Haas up 1.4, you had Ferrari and Williams up 800, McLaren up 700, Kick Sauber up 200K, Mercedes flat, Aston Martin down 1.9. Oof. Did we recommend Aston Martin last race? I don't think so. I think it was 2 ago that we went all in.
We were down on Aston.
Yeah, I think it was 2 races ago though we recommended all in, and we were correct that time. VCarb down 1.4, Red Bull down $500,000, and Alpine down 400K. If you're new to this show, how we do this is we go through the grid in groups of drivers. There's typically 5 tiers. Sometimes there's 6, depending on the way things fall and how we're feeling about each driver's performance. But this weekend, going into the Brazilian Grand Prix, there is 5 tiers again. And we kind of discuss in tiers which of these drivers we think is probably the best choice or the worst choice for each grouping. And as always, we are here to answer questions. So if you have questions, get them into the chat and we will try our best to answer them throughout the show. So shall we kick things off, or is there any commentary about Mexico Grand Prix before we want to move? Any thoughts from Ryan or William?
Lando
fine answer.
Lando has taken the lead in the clubhouse on
by 1
projected
point, right?
drivers champion. Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, there's been a sea change.
It could be an incredible last, 4 races left or 5?
4 races.
4 races.
Plus 2 sprints.
Max is not out of it. I mean,
no.
It's not likely, but like how amazing would it be to see a final event of the year in Abu Dhabi where 3 drivers could have the chance to take it? That would be complete chaos. I guarantee there would be some sort of drama.
Yeah, I think they'd have to get Latifi out of retirement to give Max a shot.
Max is still alive. Oscar is still alive as well. People aren't really talking about him as much. He's had a rough month or two. That lead has dwindled, and now he is on the outside looking in. Lando is pretty much the odds-on projected favorite everywhere. But don't count Oscar out just yet.
He's got the pace. I just don't know where it's went the last couple of races, but I know it's in him. Ryan equals
fairness,
GOAT.
Lando would have Lando would have a bigger lead if not for that one time he lost an engine. I forget where that was.
Zandvoort, right?
Zandvoort, that sounds right. Like he was at least on podium pace before that happened. So like Norris has been quote better in that regard this year.
Yep. Big time shout out to Phoenix in the chat. I'm really liking the things he's saying right now. Really makes me feel good about myself.
Yeah, there you go. Speaking of feeling good about yourself, shall we get into tiers?
Let's do it.
First tier, we got 4 drivers this weekend in the first tier. First tier this year has been a lot of times two drivers. There's been a lot of weekends where we've had 2 driver first tiers because there's just no other choices. A lot of races with 3 driver first tiers. This weekend we have 4 drivers to discuss in tier 1. Always an interesting change. Ryan, hit us up with today's tier name, or do you want me to go through the drivers first?
Yeah, hit us with the drivers.
Okay, drivers in tier 1. We got at the top of the salary board. For what? Is this the first time? It's been a minute since Max Verstappen has been the highest priced driver on this game. He is back in action.
Week.
Well,
last
okay,
week he was there.
So let's throw that out. Before that, it's been a minute. Okay, Max Verstappen at the top of the leaderboard. Apparently, again for week 2, 29.4 million. Lando Norris 28.2. Charles Leclerc at 27.1, and George Russell for 25.8 million. Also, is this the first time Piastri has not been in tier 1?
He was not
For a minute?
last race either. It's
Where
been a little
was I
weird
last weekend? Was I here?
I don't think you were.
I think I was. I don't know what happened.
But it's a little different up at the top because we have 8 drivers above the talent driver threshold line. So it's been 6 for a very long time. So it made those tiers a little condensed. But now we have 4 in tier 1 and 4 in tier 2. So that's why it looks a little different this week.
Mark Zuckerberg says Ryan is the Stroll of GridRival. I don't know. I don't know how to take that one.
I'm choosing to take that as a compliment. As a big Lance Stroll fan,
if you really want to compliment Ryan, you should compare him in some way to Logan Sargent. I mean, that would be his greatest honor. Okay, so we got a very interesting tier 1 with 4 drivers from different teams. That has to be a first, okay? At least give me that. I don't think any of us know if it's actually a first, but like
we can
very
call
likely.
It that.
Yeah, very likely.
With both McLaren's not there. Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so what are you guys thinking here?
Well, this is the cream tier.
Ooh, yeah.
Cream rises to the top. We got the cream of the crop, and of course the famous Wu-Tang song "Cream," which stands for "Championship rules everything around me." You have Max and Lando duking this out, coming down to the wire, and then Ferrari, Mercedes with Leclerc, Russell kind of fighting for second place in the Constructors' Championship.
I love it. I love that. Great work, man.
Thank you. 4 to go.
You guys, who stands out? And at this point, I mean, we got 4 races left. Are we thinking about value that much at this point? I mean, it's obviously very conditional based off of every person's spot in their league and you know what the gap is they have and what they're trying to close. But first of all, is anyone even undervalued in here? These drivers all feel very rightfully valued to me.
Nobody's undervalued, for sure. Nobody's undervalued, and I'm all about points at this point. Like we're at the part of the season where you can sign somebody up for the rest of the year, and we're not necessarily bargain hunting unless it's in service of avoiding somebody who can get us more points. We'll talk about that a bit when we get to the $100 million lineup later in the show. As far as these 4 drivers, I think Norris is very, very signable. I think Max is pretty signable. I think he will contend for wins the rest of the way, even if maybe the Drivers' Championship might not be within reach. Like I do think he's going to be fighting for wins every week. Leclerc, I think, might be a little bit overpriced at this point. And I think Russell's right about at his ceiling. Like Leclerc was up because he had a good week last week.
Yeah.
Like if we can get McLaren back into both McLarens back into the mix, if Piastri can get it together, you're going to have to push Leclerc down the order. So Leclerc's the one I like least out of this group. I think I like Verstappen the best. Verstappen, even with Tsunoda stepping up, Verstappen is going to be scoring more teammate points consistently, whereas Norris doesn't really give you that opportunity because McLaren should be double podiuming fairly often.
Just to confirm your commentary about Leclerc, he is at his highest salary that he's been the whole season. 27.1. Previous high was also 27.1. So he's matching his high after Hungary.
I will also take this opportunity to remind you all this is a sprint weekend. Lockdown is happening tomorrow at start of sprint qualifying. And I will remind you all that drivers can score points based on their sprint finish position, 20 points for the winner, 1 point for 20th place, and fill in the gaps in between. Constructors don't score the points. So keep that in mind as you're setting your lineup as well. Who might have a little bit better race pace? You can scare up a few more points on the sprint if things go well. So I see somebody in chat posting. Apparently, there's some rumor about Leclerc taking a power unit penalty. I don't know about that.
I think at this point it's just rumors. I don't know how legitimate it is. I've seen the same rumors, but again, I can't put a percentage on it. I have no idea.
The other driver I'm curious about is Norris. We did see him lose an engine earlier this year. I don't know if he's going to run out at some point this season, but yeah, I don't closely follow who's using what power unit, what miles people have on their power unit. But yeah, this is the part of the season where that is a consideration. If you've had a team struggle with reliability issues, they might be taking power unit penalties. And Brazil is one of the places people like to do that because passing is somewhat more possible at Brazil, especially if you get weather, especially if you get safety cars. The track position at the start of the race is not quite as valuable as it is at, say, a street course like Vegas, which they're going to be at in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I think keep it simple in this tier. Max and Lando are the very likely P1 and P2 in this race. Not sure what order it's going to be, but I think that's what we're going to get. All 4 of these drivers are expensive, and I'm happy to spend the extra couple million to go. I would recommend having one of Max or Lando. I think you need one because that's the likely race winner. And if you can afford it, if you have a high budget, try and sign both and just leave Leclerc and Russell off on the bench.
Great advice. Let's move on to second tier. Tier 2, also 4 drivers. Every tier that today has 4 drivers, also a first. I'm confident in that one.
Cadillac's going to ruin the symmetry next year.
What was that?
Cadillac's going to ruin the symmetry next year. It's going to be 22 cars.
I'm for it. I'm excited about that. Okay, we got Oscar Piastri at the top of tier 2. Clearly, in my choice, an underpriced pick. Maybe. Depends on how he continues to do and how much the last 3 or 4 races are going to be like the next or last 3 or 4. Previous 3 or 4, last 3 or 4. You know what I mean? Oscar Piastri, 24.7 million. Lewis Hamilton, 21.6. Kimi Antonelli, 19.3. And Ollie Behrman, 18.8 million. Hit us, Ryan.
This is the mean science teacher tier. Having to do group projects in science class, you're always hoping you get to choose your group, do the project with your friends. But this is like the teacher assigned your groups. You don't like that teacher because you have Piastri and Hamilton. They've been here all year above that talent driver cutoff line. They've been around these salaries. They're like the cool kids in school. They know their way around. And then now you have Antonelli and Behrman, who are like the new kids, the nerds who just moved to town, and they're all being forced to work together in this same group in the same tier.
I love it. Where are you guys at on Piastri's value? To me, he seems underpriced. I know the last several weeks have been down weeks for him, but I think this is first. It's been a hot minute since he's been in the second tier, number 1, at 24.7 million. It just feels like he's a little bit on sale at the moment.
He is. He's my pick of the week, I think, as far as this game goes. Like anybody above talent driver territory, he is underpriced. I think he's going to give you a lot of bang for your buck. I do think that they're going to get it back together and continue fighting Norris. The only downside is him and Norris might run into each other again, like we saw in the Austin sprint.
That wasn't necessarily his fault.
I think
that was just a
I think the
Ask
closer
Zach
we
Brown,
get,
it was Hulkenberg's fault.
I think the closer we get to the end of the season, if these drivers stay neck and neck like this, we're going to start seeing some on-team drama for sure.
Yeah, and to Williams' point, I have said Piastri is undervalued for a while now, ever since he dropped into that like 23, 24, 25 million range, because he was, a top three in terms of pricing this whole time. But now that he's behind Leclerc and Russell, I'm going to stick by it. It hasn't really done much for me the last couple races, but I'm not jumping off that ship now. That McLaren should be really fast here. It's a little easier to overtake. I see no reason why Piastri shouldn't end this race on the podium. He's probably P3 based on everything we've been seeing. But yeah, I would take him over Russell and Leclerc every single time. We'll see how it goes, but I'm going down with this ship if that's how it's going to be.
Now, just a question for Ryan. Piastri is at 24.7. The next driver in this tier, we dropped down to 21.6. Is there a reason Piastri is in the second tier, not the first tier? What were your thoughts
Symmetry.
there? Symmetry.
Four and 4. I think it's just easier to discuss 4 and 4 than it is 5 and 3. In reality, Piastri is a lot closer to this top tier, or the tier we just discussed, than he is the 3 guys below him. Which it does feel a little weird having him in the same tier as Behrman. Who would have ever thought that would be a reality? Was kind of shocking going through it, but it's just for the ease of the show and how we discuss each tier. That's kind of how I broke them out.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of also shocking, Ollie Behrman above talent driver threshold.
Yeah, he is my first stay away from this guy pick.
Oh, for sure.
Not
because we don't like him and he's not a nice guy. It's just like, this is what his salary looks like for the season. That can't keep happening.
Yes, and we have seen throughout the year. I think at one point Hulkenberg was up here. Albon flirted with it. We've seen those guys who aren't your typical, 18 million plus driver, and they kind of venture in this territory after a few good races, and you tip your cap and you're impressed by them, but they always find their way back down. I don't think Behrman can sustain this, and if he does, good for him. I'm happy to be wrong on it, but I would never sign him and would probably consider dropping him if he's on my roster, just to lock in a little bit of that profit and use it elsewhere.
I think Haas is on the upswing. I also think Behrman is overpriced right now. Mm-hmm. So if you wanted to drop Behrman to afford somebody like, say, Antonelli or Piastri, do it, I would say. I don't see Behrman finishing 4th again, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, if by chance you had Behrman on like a 3-race contract or something, or it's like a 3 races into a 4 race, I would for sure consider dropping him, because the gain of, what is it, 4 or 5 million over those last 3 races is likely to be cut into a little bit, and probably more so than the release fee would be.
And I actually don't even care about getting 5 million when the season ends in 3 weeks.
Yeah, for sure, that's true.
Yeah. And if you're a huge believer in Haas, just sign Ocon at 7.8 million less. I mean, I think it's pretty clear Behrman is probably the better driver on that team, but the gap between them is not 7.8 million's worth.
Agreed.
Yeah. So,
what do you guys think about Lewis Hamilton?
It was
kind of a rough race in Mexico, didn't he? Didn't he get a time penalty in the early laps for passing off track?
Yeah, it picked up a penalty for leaving the track and gaining an advantage on the start of the race. He rejoined on the grass. He didn't actually take the paved road like you're supposed to. I'm going to trigger all Brazil with 3 words. Is that Glock?
Is the track Timo Glock?
Is that where this is the track where that happens? And
remind us what happened, William.
Driving a Ferrari. What's that?
Remind everybody what happened.
It started raining at the end of the race, and Felipe Massa was world champion for Ferrari for about 30 seconds until Hamilton came upon Timo Glock's Toyota that had stayed out on dries, passed him for 5th place in the last turn of the season to win the championship. Without any kind of manufactured drama or playoffs, this was a perfectly natural pass for the championship right at the end, which, if you're an association for stock car auto racing, you should maybe take note that, that's a special, memorable moment.
I
Uh,
believe that Felipe Massa is still
yeah,
up in
he's
arms.
that's just going to court now. So he's suing because he's claiming that Crashgate was covered up during the season,
Mm.
and it shouldn't have been covered up, and Singapore should have been nullified because it was manipulated. But anyway, yeah. So Hamilton has some history. Now he's driving the Ferrari instead of taking the championship from a Ferrari. But getting back on subject, I think Hamilton's right about at his ceiling. He's been consistently behind Leclerc this year. Uh, he's just not a podium contender like he was at Mercedes. We'll see how things go next year. Like I think either he takes to the new cars next year or he retires next year. I think those are the
Yeah,
two options. He might
yeah,
retire next year anyway.
yeah. The
Uh,
issue with oh, go ahead. I'll let you finish.
it's like I'm not really excited about Hamilton. Antonelli, I'm okay buying. I think he may gain a little bit more value. I think he's caught up to Russell. I think he's going to consistently be in the points every week going forward. So I'm okay with Antonelli. I'm really not excited about Hamilton. I think you're going to find better options. Like maybe you take a driver from the talent tier and then afford a better driver that's more valuable than Hamilton.
Antonelli's at his highest price point since the first race in Italy, after Miami. So it's been a minute since he's been up here. He's at 19.3. His peak this year was 21.8. So probably not a ton of upside, right? And he just went up 2 million after this race.
And
Yeah,
he's been on the upswing. He's consistently gotten better. Like he's performing to the level of the car now.
Yeah.
Is where I'm coming at this from.
Yeah, finished sixth in last weekend. So I do agree. If he continues to do that, there's for sure going to be more upside. Ryan, were you going to say something?
yeah. The problem with Hamilton is it just seems like his best case scenario is what P4, and
Yeah,
even that
probably.
seems like a stretch. Like you can almost pencil him in for P5, P6. He's going to be behind the McLarens, behind Max. I doubt he beats his teammate. If Ferrari shows up to Brazil way better than Mercedes, then yeah, he can beat Russell. But I don't see him finishing ahead of Leclerc. 21 million is a lot to ask for a guy whose ceiling might be P5, P4 if you're lucky. Just
And
it
his
just
teammate's going to
doesn't.
beat him.
Yes,
So you don't even
more
get the
likely than
points.
not. Unless I mean, Ferrari every so often does some stupid things. Maybe they'll do that stupid thing to Leclerc and not Hamilton. I guess that's your potential upside, but you don't really want to bank on that because it could very well happen to your own guy. Antonelli, talked about him. He's been great. At this price, it was so nice when he was talent driver eligible for so long. I wouldn't cut him. I wouldn't, but I also am not running to sign him at 19. The way that all the salaries break out this week, I'm really trying to stack the top end drivers, and I will pay a price down the board and take some bargains. But I just want the real top guys instead of guys like Hamilton, Antonelli. I'll get my bargains elsewhere.
I think your bargains, one of them might come in the next tier, my guess, but we'll see. Should we jump onto it?
Let's do it.
Another four drivers, all four driver tiers today. We got Alex Albon 15.7, Yuki Tsunoda 15.3, Isaac Hadjar 14.6, Fernando Alonso 13.4 million, down 2 million. Is that the lowest he's been all season? I'm looking. Hang tight. No, definitely not, but it's getting close. Hit us with
Aston
this
had a
tier.
run earlier where they were terrible. It was probably
They
back.
did.
It's been a while, yeah. This is the Rapture tier. They all performed below expectations. They all lost value in Mexico. And you look at Behrman and Antonelli, they have ascended. They have been chosen. They have ascended over that talent driver cutoff line, and these guys were left behind.
The Left Behind series. Phenomenal. Rapture tier. All right. I was just looking at average points per race. Alex Albon's average points per race 129 for the year, higher than Behrman, higher than Antonelli, only 6 points below Lewis Hamilton. So he does seem like, I don't know, like maybe a little value. Again, I think we're at the point in the season where this is probably not how we're making decisions, but someone did make a point. Andy Woodger said Antonelli seems to be a consistent point collector, which is what made me look into this. It is important, very important at this point to be thinking a lot about points. And price is still important to think more so for optimizing your team for points, less about getting more value so you can build a better team. I think that part of this game is for the most part concluded, but who do you guys see as undervalued here in terms of points?
If Aston shows up, it's Alonso. Aston has been very hit or miss almost all season, but especially over the last couple months. I think we've said multiple times on our shows, if Aston has it, we're triple up Aston with Alonso, Stroll, and them as a constructor, and we're all in on them, or we wouldn't touch them with a 30-foot pole. We would cut them. They were all drop fee candidates.
So to your point, real quick to your point, you said earlier in the season Aston had like a rough go. It was at the Spanish Grand Prix that they started turning things around. And at that race, Alonso's salary is 13.7 and has consistently been over that the whole rest of the season. This is the lowest it's been since that kind of like changeover in their performance. So it is worth considering if you think that's an anomaly, if you obviously think they're continuing to go downhill. They have been a very episodic team over the past couple of years. It feels like they're always like in the bottom half or the top half, but I don't know, they seem all over the place.
Yeah, if I had to lock in a team now, Alonso would be on it. I do think I like him at this price and expect them to be okay here at Brazil at worst. But again, I'm gonna watch practice tomorrow. If Aston shows any sort of pace, then Alonso's a really easy click and a very strong candidate for talent driver. But if things look really bad, then abandon that one. But Alonso is the only one in this tier that I have my eye on. I don't really want any part of Albon, Tsunoda, or Hadjar.
Oh, interesting.
So yeah, I've got a somewhat different view here. Alonso, if Aston shows up in practice, sure. Aston hasn't been showing up for a bit now. So I'm not counting on Aston showing up again. So that said, like, will Williams show up? They're another hit or miss team. I think the most consistent drivers in this tier are Hadjar and now Tsunoda. Like Tsunoda has become a lot more consistent, and I think Tsunoda is the undervalued driver in this tier. So I actually like Tsunoda the best here. I like Hadjar the next, barring Williams or Aston showing phenomenal pace in the one practice session that we're going to get tomorrow morning. So yeah, those are my thoughts. I'm just not counting on Aston. Of course, I mean, it's hard for them to do worse than last year. Last year's Brazil was quite bad for them.
Yuki is definitely figuring this car out finally.
Yeah, that, and he's actually driving the same car as Max. Mekis isn't playing favorites the way Horner was.
Yeah.
Also, speaking of Brazil, last year I am not taking much from that race and pulling it into this year. That was I'd say not a very indicative race of what I would want in terms of looking at pace. It was the whole thing was a complete circus. And
I'm thinking about the sessions throughout that weekend. Like it was not great for them in general. And of course, Lance Stroll did not start the race because for some reason he drove into the gravel after going off on the formation lap. He drove into the gravel rather than onto the pavement, and he beached himself, which was hilarious. And it was Stroll.
What is you guys aren't liking about Albon? He has the highest average points of this group for the whole year.
What's he done lately, though, is the problem.
Well, I'm looking. I mean, his salary is the lowest in 5 events. So there's maybe an argument for value, but also the reason his salary is low is because he hasn't had great performances. To your point.
Yeah, Albon could very well be the best performing driver under the talent driver line. I just think that it's so close between a lot of these guys, and he's the most expensive one. And kind of like he just doesn't really fit into my roster construction this week because I'm really trying to stack the top of the board and then go cheap on the rest of them. And that 15 to like 20 range doesn't fit in where I'm at. But I wouldn't cut Albon, and I wouldn't say don't sign him. I think it's just the way that I'm putting my team together this week. He just doesn't quite fit in, but like, I think he can be fine. I'm not going to say don't touch him or don't do anything with him. It's just not quite where I'm at right now.
Yeah, there is hit or miss as Williams has been. And the other thing I'll say is, like, if you do get rain, as much as people were dumping on Sargent last year, Albon crashed way more than he did. Albon did a lot more damage than Sargent did. I don't trust Albon to keep that car in one piece around Brazil, which is a somewhat tighter, less forgiving circuit. Then you maybe put weather on top of that, especially on Saturday. It's like I just don't trust Albon, and I don't trust Williams.
Good feedback. Let's move on. Fourth tier for drivers again. We got Liam Lawson 13.3, Gabriel Bortoleto 12.5. Lawson down 2 million, by the way, after last race. Bortoleto up 1.7. This tier is all over the place in terms of fluctuations. Carlos Sainz down 1,900,000. Esteban Ocon up 2 million. So these guys are all over. Ryan, hit us with this tier name for the week.
Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery tier. As you mentioned, they are way up or way down. So it seems like they're trying to do their best impression of the stroller coaster because they want to be Stroll so badly.
Love it. He's become a fan favorite. I think the name hopefully will stick. You heard it here first.
Had to figure out a way to get it involved somewhat because Stroll was flat this week, which, again, shocking. Who would have ever guessed that? So I had to work it into the tiers somehow.
Any standouts here? Lawson down 2 million. Is he a good buy? Let's see. Lawson average points 111. Close to the highest of the group. You have Sainz and Ocon both at 112, and they're less expensive. What do you guys think?
Sainz or Ocon are guys I have my eyes on. I think we mentioned earlier about Haas looking like they've turned the corner, looking decent. And if I'm going to take a flyer on Haas, I'm going to take Ocon at way cheaper than his teammate. And it's kind of the same thing with Sainz over Albon. I think they're pretty similar. And it's obviously a smaller gap, but I'd rather pay 12.1 than 15.7 if I believe in the pace that Williams has. I don't really have any interest in Lawson or Bortoleto.
So for me, I like Ocon the best. I think Haas has improved in the last few races, and Haas can perform once again. They have some history at Brazil. Like there was the one time Magnussen took pole at Brazil, like with some weather involved, which we might have on Saturday. It's like I like Ocon the best out of this tier. Sainz is again like, how does Williams look tomorrow morning? Like they could either be a top 5 team or they could be down in the dumps with Alpine. There doesn't seem to be a lot of middle ground with them. Lawson has not been that consistent. I don't really love Lawson. Like he's had one good result in the last several rounds. Bortoleto in front of his home crowd, that's either really good or really bad, like we see with drivers. Like either they deliver or it's just a total disaster and they're out. And Sauber's somewhat consistent. Like they're usually not worst case scenario, but they're less consistent. I think if I had to rank these drivers, I like Ocon the best, then Sainz, then Bortoleto, then Lawson. I'm just not touching Lawson. I don't trust him. I don't trust Racing Bulls all that much. And Hadjar's going to beat him, and Hadjar's like 1,000,003 more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I guess we did see there was a report today that Sainz isn't feeling well. There really aren't any details attached to it yet, but I guess something to keep an eye on. You'll know if he's not participating tomorrow. I don't foresee that happening, but again, I don't think anyone really has the details.
I saw someone on Twitter say like it's like a sore throat and a fever, and he's improving. I think Luke Branning's the reserve. I don't know for sure who the reserve is this week.
Yeah, but I don't think we're going to have that issue, but it is something to wake up and look at tomorrow morning.
Yeah, he's untouchable if it's not going to be Sainz in that car. They're untouchable. Like Alpine will beat him at that point.
All right. Any closing thoughts on
good for Albon, I guess,
tier?
if you're an Albon fan.
Yes, then Alpine becomes much more desirable if for whatever reason Sainz isn't running.
Fifth tier?
All good. Let's do it.
Fifth tier, stroller coaster, 10.8 million, stayed flat. Flat is a win for the stroller coaster people that are in here. We got Hulkenberg at 8.9, down 2 million. Hulk had such a great run there for the last couple seasons in a car that was not meant to do what he was doing with it, but has just struggled in the Sauber for sure. Colapinto 6.3 million. Pierre Gasly all the way at the bottom at 6 million. Having a rough go at it. Gasly is. Gosh dang. Just looking at the salary chart. Just like look at this. Ouch.
Alpine is awful.
Whee!
Alpine
Yikes.
is clearly the slowest car on the grid, and their values reflect that.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's see. How are we thinking about this tier? Are we only thinking about this tier because it's a sprint race? No, sorry. I'm thinking about constructors. Trying to pick a low constructor. So I'm flip flopped here.
This is the by tier name fits
Oh, yeah.
in with the only way we're thinking about this tier, and it's the hallelujah, it's raining, man tier.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's the only chance any of these have.
Yep, Alpine podium, double podium, rain in the forecast. Sounds like it might mostly just be Saturday, but again, could lead to a weird grid. Who knows what goes on? But yeah, if it rains and one of these teams nails strategy or has a very good Saturday, yeah, anything can happen, and these are very cheap prices to pay.
Out of this tier, I think Hulkenberg is potentially takeable if Sauber looks halfway decent, like being at a discount.
And if it's going to rain.
Yeah, rain could with rain like you get that wild card. Yeah, Hulkenberg had an interesting run last year. He ended up being black flags for receiving external assistance after he got his car stuck in a drain grate.
Not good.
Yeah, so you can't receive assistance. So that was the end of that race. I don't think anybody had ever been black flagged during a red flag before. Stroll, yeah, we talked about him driving into the gravel. If Aston looks decent, he's potentially takeable. Like if Aston doesn't look good with both cars, I'm staying away because he won't deliver. And then Alpine is absolute garbage, and you should only take Alpines if you need to fill out a complete lineup.
Lance Stroll for sure has the highest ceiling of these four.
Hulk podium, remember that? Silverstone? There was rain involved with that too.
Okay, well, yeah, for sure. If there's rain, I think anything can change, as evidenced by Esteban Ocon finishing second last year and Gasly finishing third. Assuming there is not rain, I think that Lance Stroll still has the highest potential of these four, but it is Brazil. I'm sure ChatGPT could quickly tell us what percentage of previous races had weather, but I'm guessing it's more than 50.
I think it's less than 50. I think
50?
it's less than 50 on race day, but when it does happen, it really does happen. Like last year's race, like the 2008 race, is that Glock. The 2003 race where the Jordan won on countback and then exploded in pit lane, like after they stopped the race, and Alonso was on his way to the hospital instead of on the podium that day.
Mm.
That was quite the day. To date, that's Ford's last win in F1, I believe.
No way, really?
Yeah, I think that's the last one. Maybe Red Bull will change that next year.
ChatGPT says about 24 to 30%. So
Yeah,
I was
There's
wrong.
about a 25% chance it's right.
Yeah,
It's
give
true.
me Hulk, give me Stroll, and I'm not interested in taking Alpine drivers really.
Yeah, I think that's a safe bet.
Yeah, similar to, I guess it fits in with weather. We're all watching the weather. You have tornado watches, tornado warnings, whatever it is. We are on stroller coaster watch or warning. I forget which is which, but we are monitoring the situation with Lance Stroll. If Aston has any sort of pace tomorrow, then Lance Stroll is definitely finding his way onto my lineup. if it looks bad, then I am staying away from him and I will wait for him to drop 2 million and then we'll be all in on him for the next race. But as of now, it's all about practice.
If he looks good tomorrow morning, I think we're gonna have to get in the Discord and write out like in the style of an advisory, like a stroller coaster warning. Take action now.
Yeah,
now's
or
the
have
time
like
to
a
get to your safe
DEFCON chart.
space.
Yeah. If I'm always looking for reasons to put Lance Stroll in my lineup. I don't have one just quite yet, but FP1 could provide that reason, and I'm really hoping it does, because I would love to put him on the lineup yet again and have him for the rest of the season, because I always feel a little guilty on the weekends where he's not on the team. So I always like to give him some support.
Should we get into constructors? And before we do, let's remind everybody. I think we have a lot of people that are here repetitively. So, but if there's any new folks here, you want to treat sprint weekends a little bit different, and we have a kind of an outlier here, very specific to this piece of advice, which is we have Alpine at 6 million, half the cost of the next driver above them. On a sprint weekend, your drivers will earn extra points at sprint races, as many as 20. So it's not huge, but constructors do not earn sprint race points. So one of the things that you want to be thinking about on a sprint weekend, of which there are 2 more remaining, is that correct?
Yeah, there's this one, and then 2 weekends, 2 races from now in Qatar.
That's right. So we have 2 left. And so on sprint race weekends, our recommendation is typically, but not always, to fill a cheap constructor spot and spend the extra money on a better driver instead of a better constructor, because your driver, let's take an example. If you have, McLaren or Ferrari on your team, that same budget could get you a Norris or Piastri or Verstappen, somebody who could get 20 points in a sprint race. So something to think about as you put your teams together. If you have an open constructor, in one of my main leagues, I actually have a high priced constructor. And so like the decision I have to make is, do I really want to release them for what will likely cost $750,000? So I probably won't. But anyways, William, you're typically the one that talks about this. Do you have anything you want to add to that about the strategy going into a sprint race and how we treat constructors?
Yeah, I think you covered it. So drivers have an opportunity to score a few more points that constructors don't. That said, the interesting question becomes, it's not just the sprint. Like we have Grand Prix qualifying, we have the Grand Prix itself. Maybe we'll get to it when we talk about Alpine, but I think the question is going to be, is that $6 million savings actually worth it? Because my position is that Alpine is that bad compared to the next constructor. So a lot of years, like you'll have a constructor that's clearly the worst, and you'll have a constructor that's clearly the second worst, and they're the last 2 cars running. We don't have that this year. We don't have a clear second worst, and we don't have a clear second worst. When you have like a bunch of constructors where like maybe they could get around 11th or 12th in the qualifying in the race, the points that they score the constructor points that they score compared to what Alpine's going to do being last, that might actually outweigh the 6 million in savings that you get by running Alpine. So that's a consideration. Alpine, let me pull up how many points they scored last time out.
Ryan, we don't have tier names for constructors, right?
We don't do those.
We don't do that here.
Yeah, 86 points for Alpine last week at Mexico. That was finishing 15th and 16th. They were the last 2 cars running. I think maybe there was somebody who had a worse problem, but like they were last. Yeah, Sainz had a problem, and so Alpine was ahead of him. But like they were essentially the last cars running. They were 86 points. The next constructor scored you like another 20 points probably.
So if you've watched this show for any period of time, you should have learned by now that if there's one thing you shouldn't trust, it's my memory. That said, I think it's been a minute since I've seen the bottom price constructor be half the cost of the constructor in 9th place. That's pretty brutal.
Yeah, and that's a symptom of like I was describing, there's no clear second worst.
Yeah.
There is a clear worst, a very clear worst. Alpine is the new minority.
Oof.
Well, I'm happy to dumpster dive. I'll be most likely using Alpine this weekend. it's not pretty. I don't like it, but I just want to deploy every dollar possible to the driver lineup. And that means signing Alpine and hoping for some bad weather. And when they finish as last two classified cars, that means 16th and 17th instead of 19th and 20th.
Mm-hmm.
If we want to take a constructor that's actually going to be competitive this weekend, like if we look at the top, like McLaren at 27.9, Red Bull the 23.3, like that's the two bookends of the tier: McLaren, Ferrari, Mercedes, Red Bull. The teams that are capable of maybe winning a race. Like if you've got McLaren, if you want to lock them up the rest of the year, I think that's perfectly fine. Yeah, I'm not going to go cutting McLaren to go pick up another driver on the sprint. I think the consistency from McLaren is hard to beat. Next best choice is probably Mercedes, then Ferrari, then Red Bull. If we're in the Racing Bulls, the Sauber tier, I like Haas the best, absent any practice data. If Aston looks good in practice or Williams looks good in practice, then we can go that way, or Sauber. But yeah, like right now, going into the weekends, I like Haas the best out of that tier.
And Alpine, real Michael Andretti says Alpine probably won't lose 3 million in weather. I don't think it's even possible for them to lose 3 million in any sort of fashion. So that is the other good thing. You're probably not going to lose much. Even worst case scenario, you're staying mostly flat.
Mm-hmm.
It's low downside, and it doesn't take much for a huge gain in value. So that's another reason I'm using it.
I got the numbers in front of me. So the slot for 10th in constructors is 4.8 million. And with the divisor that happens when we do the calculations, so like difference of 1.2, and then you divide that by 4, like they can lose like 300K, 400K, I think.
Yeah.
This weekend. So they're near the floor.
Yeah, very near. So I know we already got into these. Should we go through tiers real quick? Or does it matter at this point?
I don't think it matters a ton. I think William did a pretty good job breaking down the top constructors, and then it's just a complete mess in the middle. From VCarb, Haas, Aston, Williams, Kick. It's really tough to separate them. I think it's mostly going to be dependent on practice data. I have a hard time saying which one will be the best. I think gun to head, if I had to choose, I'd probably say Haas, just because recent form looks decent. But I'm not. I have very low confidence in anything I would say about those middle tier constructors, and would just recommend waiting and picking whichever one is the best in practice, or doing what I'm doing and going Alpine, so you don't have to worry about it.
Mark Zuckerberg in the comments said to the real Michael Andretti, "Why would you pretend to be someone else on the internet?" Some good stuff happening there in the chat.
We have the most famous chat with Zuck and Andretti in here. We're all the big wigs.
Zuckerberg did change his name though to Zuckerberg 5G. It was just Mark Zuckerberg. So I'm not.
Maybe he got the 5G chip when he got his last booster shot.
He got it implanted in his brain. Another discussion topic: should Alpine rebrand to Renault and bring back Cyril Abiteboul, or however you say his last name?
No.
Yeah, sure. I don't care.
I changed
Why
the
not?
name. Change the name, but you got to get some fresh blood. They went backwards. Like you've got Flavio Briatore running that again. I don't know how he warmed his way back in after what he did at Singapore 08. But I mean, get that guy out of there.
Smooth operator, man.
They can go ahead and do whatever they want, and I'm not going to care. I have spent 30 seconds thinking about Alpine this week, and all 30 seconds of which came on this show. So,
yeah.
So you're not a fan? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I just don't care. They don't take up any real estate in my brain. I got plenty of other things to think about and do, and I'm much more interested in all the other drivers and constructors. Alpine is just there. Hopefully they look good in pink. I don't know.
Don't know if you've all noticed the shirt. Like this is a reference. This team was Lotus at one point, and this shirt is referencing a funny Raikkonen moment when he was driving for Lotus and they were not paying him at Brazil. Like at Brazil, there was 1 year like he thought he took an escape road, and it was actually an abandoned portion of the track.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
He had to turn the car around. So you have finish and you have finish.
I like it.
But yeah, that was this team, like under a different name.
We have not Logan Sargent in the chat as well, which is pretty cool.
Well, at least he's
I
honest,
did want,
you know.
maybe he's trying to fool it. That's exactly what someone who didn't want to be found out as Logan Sargent would
Oh yeah,
say.
true. He might be the real Logan
So,
Sargent then.
I'm going to go ahead and say he is. Logan, we love you and wishing you the best in your racing career and hope to see you back soon. I wanted to touch real quick before we get to 100 million. Andy in the chat used to compare Antonelli, Hadjar, and Stroll. I don't think they're really comparable. They're three drivers all at completely different price points. I mean, if you want to say who's going to be the best, like Antonelli is pretty much going to have the best finish of those three, but he's also the most expensive, and you can't use him as talent driver. Hadjar is somewhat consistent mid-pack, can be talent driver eligible, and Stroll is like the bargain at the bottom. So they fill completely different voids in every single lineup, so they're hard to compare. So I don't know how to really suss that one out for you. And then best talent driver pick, if we had to go now, I think I'd stick with Alonso as much as I don't like it. And if they're a disaster in practice, then maybe go to like Ocon for Haas, but that's a tough one too.
My talent driver at the moment is Sonoda. Like, I think Ocon is another solid choice if Haas looks okay in practice. Like, it's going to come down to who looks okay in practice, honestly. And we're going to have to take our best shot. Ocon does have experience, which is potentially a good thing if the weather becomes a problem. So does Sonoda. But yeah, I think I think it's a really hard question to answer right now. Good thing we do have the one practice session before we are committed at lockdown time, which is start of spring qualifying tomorrow.
All right, we got 7 minutes left. William, why don't you hit us with our $100 million line of the week? If you're new, if you happen to be catching this and you're a new GridRival player and you have a clean roster and you're like, hey, I only have 100 million. All these other people in my league have way more money than me because they've been here the whole season. William masterfully every weekend creates a lineup just for you. If you just have $100 million and you got to be efficient with it, here is the GridRival suggested lineup going into the Brazilian GP. William, hit us.
Yeah. Well, first I'll recap the Mexico lineup, which was Leclerc, Piastri, Antonelli, talent driver, Hulkenberg, Ocon, and Sauber. Our only miss there was Hulkenberg, who failed to finish the race, brought Sauber down a little bit. That $99.8 million lineup was still good for 932 points, which is a solid day.
That's a way solid day. That's more than I think I got last week. Not by much. Let's see. What did I have? I had way more. I had 833 points last week. Team value of 118 million. So
yeah, just a little bad luck sprinkled in there. So the other key thing here is the goal is not to spend all the money; it's to spend the most points. The lineup that spends every dollar may not be the one that gives you the most points. Anyway, onto the Brazil lineup. The official lineup I'm going to go with is Piastri, Antonelli, Tsunoda, talent driver, Hadjar, Ocon, and Haas for 99.2 million. If you want to go more top heavy, you could also do a $99.8 million lineup, which will be Norris, Piastri, Tsunoda, talent driver, Hadjar, Ocon, and Alpine. But I do think that you're going to be giving up a lot of points going for Alpine, like on race day, on qualifying. I'm just not sure if the juice is going to be worth the squeeze on the sprints. So, yeah, Piastri, Antonelli, Tsunoda, Hadjar, Ocon, Haas, my lineup. Somebody was asking me, do we think Tsunoda comes back next year? It seems like Red Bull is wrestling over that. It seems like maybe Mekis wants Tsunoda and Helmut Marko wants Hadjar. I hope Tsunoda gets another chance. I feel like they're going to force Hadjar in there and they're going to force Tsunoda out. Like, even though Tsunoda is allegedly not a Honda guy anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like they're going to force him out, which, he's been there 5 years. Like, if you want to push him out, I heard this discussed on the broadcast the other week. Well, Tsunoda's a known quantity, but maybe the quantity is not enough. But that's how they put it.
Good way to put it.
Yeah, like maybe like we've seen what Tsunoda is, and he's maybe just not enough, unfortunately. And maybe Tsunoda is driving a sports car somewhere next year.
I think that concludes our show. Mark Zuckerberg did say he's going to be on as a guest next week, so look forward to that. Hopefully, he's got his Meta glasses on with him and that cool gold chain that he's been wearing lately. Thank you all for joining us. Excited to chat about how this race went when we see you next time. Until then, exciting weekend ahead of us. We hope you all enjoyed as much as we're going to, and we will see everybody soon.
Vegas in 2 weeks.
Vegas in 2 weeks, baby.
See you all.
See you. All right.